Welcome back to Rev Vision channel. Good to see you guys back in the US. I'm excited to be back. It was a wonderful trip. Of course, thank you guys for joining me on this channel. First thing first, though, I want to say is I really do appreciate all of you guys who are supporting Rev Vision, who are supporting 30 Days in Liberia. I've seen a lot of people have liked the page. Some people share it. I honestly do want to say thank you so much for all you're doing for 30 Days in Liberia and Rev Vision, but also mainly Liberia, because all of this at the end of the day is because of Liberia to support our country, to see the country grow. I do want to invite those who've never done this before as far as sharing or liking the page. I do urge you to please go ahead and share, like the page as well. This is going to be on our YouTube channel. All of these episodes are going to be premiere on YouTube, and then we'll put parts of it on our Facebook 30 Days in Liberia. So if you're watching this on YouTube, I want to say thank you for coming to the channel. I do want to ask you, if you can subscribe, hit the subscribe button, hit like, and also share this video to people who you think might be interested, or just share it just so that more people can be aware of it. Comment below also. The thing with YouTube, to help this channel grow, YouTube needs to see some comments and likes and share. So comment below any kind of suggestion that you have or anything that surprised you throughout this video, so that we can keep the whole conversation going. The hashtag is going to be 30DIL. So that's an easier way to find the channel, but also to talk about it as well. So if you see 30DIL, it just means 30 Days in Liberia. First thing, look what I brought for you guys. Look at this. This is amazing. Didn't bring it. I had it in my house. But the first video, this video is going to be looking at prepping. This video is going to be like things to know, what to expect, and how to prep for your trip. All the gears we got, the reason why we got those gears, our airport experience, the flight we went with, how the flight was, the food on the flight, arriving in Liberia, that feeling, and all of that is going to be in this episode number 1. We needed a new hard drive, because if you're going and you're going to capture a lot of footage, I'll suggest get just a plain new hard drive that you can put all the footage from there on, instead of mixing it up with other things. So we got a new hard drive, we got a GoPro, we got a new phone. Now for phone, you can use your own phone. I think there are some phones out there that do have dual SIM. So the phone we got is like the iPhone SE or something like that. You can put 2 SIMs in it. But also, if you are T-Mobile customer or Verizon, I think you can do it electronically. So you can switch back and forth between SIM cards. So basically, you can take your America SIM card, remove it from in your phone, but it'll still work. I don't know how to do it, but it'll still work. They do it electronically, and then you put your Liberia SIM in your phone, so that you can switch back and forth anytime, without physically taking off the SIM card and changing it. So I would suggest look into that and do that if you're traveling to Liberia and you don't want to have 2 phones. You can have one SIM electronic and then one physical SIM, which should be the Liberia SIM card, in your phone, so that you can switch back and forth and still make and get American calls. So that's what we did. We got a phone, a GoPro, a hard drive, and several other gadgets that we would need for this trip. Now, after all of that, the main thing was packing. For this trip, though, we did pack a lot more gears than actual personal items. I mean, I did pack a little too much shoes than I'd expected, but of course, first time returnee, so you don't really know what to expect. That's why you're watching this video, so you get to know everything before going. I will talk about all of these things as far as outfits and shoes and things to carry, what not to carry, and what would surprise you when you get there. So the entire thing was first time experience for me as well. But after that, we packed mainly, I think we flew with Southwest, but also when you travel international, you get 2 under 50-pound bags free. So we tried to stick with that. We didn't want to pay for excess baggage. We were carrying a lot of equipment anyways, and so we didn't want to pay too much money for that. So we did stick with 2 under 50-pound bag, or 2 50-pound bags, my business partner and I each, plus a carry-on and a backpack. So that was good enough for all the things we were carrying. When we did get to the airport, though, one thing is, if you haven't flown with Southwest, or if you've flown with Southwest before, sometimes they tend to be a little sticky about things you're carrying. So if you have a carry-on bag and like a 2 carry-ons, I think. And if you have a waist bag or cross bag or a purse, they tend to give you a hard time about it, saying you can't take that on as an extra bag. So for us, we had our cross bag, you know, that we usually put our passport and everything in. So they start to give us a little hard time about that, saying that's an extra bag. So we had to stop at the gate and literally take it off and try to push it in our carry-on bag and things like that. So I recommend, if you're flying with Southwest, just do just 2 things or just 1 carry-on to make it easy, because sometimes they tend to waste your time about it. So the whole journey started, of course, from Minnesota. We flew to New York because that's the gateway international. I think there are 3: New York, DC, and Atlanta, I believe, to fly outside the country or come in the country. Those are the 3 international gateway to leave or come back. So we flew to New York. We went through New York airport. I mean, I will recommend, though, if you're flying, if you have the opportunity to fly through DC, to do so. New York airports tend to be a little too cumbersome and overwhelming, but also there's a lot of travel involved, air, trains, and taxis and all of that stuff. If you fly through DC, it tends to be a little easier, but also just the whole processing through in New York tends to be a little extra. Now, I'm not complaining about it. It's all about security and things like that, but if you do have the opportunity to fly through DC, it's a little easier that way than to fly through New York. But we got through New York. Joel and I, we were flying with 3 people. So Joel, myself, and a family member, a cousin, all 3 of us. So we met him in New York. When we got there, he brought a lot of bags, of course, because he's doing business back home. But we got to New York, and the whole check-in process began. Now, I will recommend, of course, this is an obvious information. I'm pretty sure everybody knows about it, but it still happens when you're traveling international, traveling to Liberia. Make sure you set aside a lot of time, because when you do get to the airport, especially if you have a lot of bags, it takes some time, especially if your bag's overweight. You have to move things around. You have to check in. The lines tend to be pretty long for international flights, especially on certain days or in the morning. So set aside a lot of time for that. But when we got to the airport, of course, we decided to all weigh our bags and to move things around. We started running into issues about weight, because we had to move things around. We have to take stuff from here, put it in the other bag, put it here and here and stuff like that. So to make sure everything was under 50 pounds, because sometimes if it's just even 1 pound above 50, they tend to give you a hard time about it. You don't want to waste your time, arguing about overage or pay money for it. So just make sure you weigh your bag ahead of time, get the ample time, and do everything you can do just so you get through that process. After you check in and go through security, it's just easy breezy from there. But so that's what we went through. We moved things around. We made sure everything was under 50 pounds, and we begin the check-in process. Now, I will tell you though, if you're traveling international, especially to Liberia, now this is a horror story that happens every year. For those of you who've never been, those of you who haven't been for a long time, I will highly recommend getting a lock. For me though, I forgot to buy a lock for my bag. So there are other options, like what I did for my bag is saran wrap. So basically I think I pay like $35 at the airport. One thing too is always carry cash. When you're traveling international, always carry cash, as much cash as you can with you, because not everywhere take cards and things like that. But anyways, so I forgot to get locks for my bag. So what I did basically was saran wrap, which is really good. You go to the airport and they will wrap your entire bag for you. So basically nobody can tamper with it, nobody can open it. You will need that though. Like I said, we hear horror stories every year. Even personally, my friend of mine, you travel, you leave your bag unlocked because you're used to traveling in the US and things like that. When you get there, you're going to learn the hard way, get things done. Now, I'll talk more about it in different episodes about the airport and how things have changed, but it still do happen. It's obviously not as it was before, where you go, your entire bag is empty if you don't lock it. But now, still, you still need to lock your bags and stuff like that. So if you don't have lock, or if you forget to lock your bag, make sure you saran wrap. Ask at the airport, they can saran wrap your bag for you and things. So this was really a peak for me. This is something I've always dreamt about, just going back home and just seeing my country again and things like that. So it was exciting. After we went through security and checked in, the excitement was there, just waiting for that flight from New York to go to Paris. You know, it was just all of that balling up inside me, you know, just really imagining how it's gonna feel like, how it's gonna be like just being back home after leaving for so long. Of course, so what we did, our flight, this is gonna be a tradition, I think. We went ahead and we went to the bar, got some shots for that long flight, because it was a long flight. We're flying with Air France, so went ahead, chill a little bit, did some editing, got some shots for the flight, and after that, the flight came, was ready, we hopped on, we flew with Air France from New York to Paris. Most people who are traveling to Liberia go through that route, from New York to Paris to maybe one other African country and to Liberia. That's a little bit of a cheaper ticket. I mean, if you buy a more expensive ticket, you fly, I think, maybe from New York to Liberia straight. But we got a cheaper ticket, of course. So we made a lot of stops. This journey was very, very long and tiring. But so we went through New York, got on the flight, Air France. And the excitement was there. Now, I would say something about Air France. Now, if you, like I say, if you do have a little bit more time, if you plan ahead, I'll recommend maybe flying with a different airline, because Air France, it was not fun at all. The plane was cramped, of course. Now, if you fly with Air France and get maybe business class or first class, of course, there's no issue there. But if you're just looking to get a regular ticket, I'll recommend maybe flying with Brussels or a different airline. But Air France was pretty cramped. The plane was really packed because, of course, I think the ticket is cheaper, maybe, I don't know. But the plane was cramped. There was a lot of people. The seating was terrible. I mean, when you sit and you scoot forward a little bit, just a little bit, your knee is going to touch the back of the other seat in front of you. For a 7-hour flight, that was gruesome. I can say that for sure. So we hopped on that flight. We got seated. All of us. I'm always lucky with window seat. I love window seating. I was sitting at the window, but the seating was bad. If you're 6 foot, 6'3", 6'4", or just average 5'9", 5'10", it's going to be just enough seating for you on Air France. Other than that, if you're a little taller, it's going to be a little bit of an issue. Maybe I recommend getting a different flight, or maybe flying business class, especially if you don't like flying that long. But it was gruesome, I can tell you that. My knee was touching the back of the chair in front of me a little bit, because I think I had one of my carry-on bag in front of me. That's why maybe it made it a little difficult. But other than that, still, you don't have much room to move around on Air France. Second thing, after flying for a few hours, they bring the food, of course. I don't know what kind of food this was, but I tell you that it was terrible. It was like jailhouse food. It came in this tray with some kind of half-done rice, and I don't know what it was, but you will see this in the video. It didn't really taste that good. Of course, maybe I was too excited that I'm finally flying, so maybe I wasn't feeling hungry or whatever, but I can tell you the food was not that good. So if you're flying, please eat, make sure you're full. Don't depend on the food on the plane. If you're used to food like that, then maybe that's great. This is not an insult to the French people. I don't know if it's French food or not, but anyways, that particular food was not good. So yeah, man, so we flew from New York, got into Paris. I think it was like a 7-hour flight, and just basically cruising, and we got to Paris.
In Paris, cargo is all done. It's also small. Let me here. Paris.
Now, when I did get to Paris, though, I didn't get a lot of video footage. At that time, I was basically already tired. I didn't want to film anymore. And when we got to Paris, they're giving us a little bit of a hard time. I don't know why, when Africans are flying, or we did see it. I'm saying Africans because when we get to a gate, we see other people just passing, and then they'll always stop us, asking us where we're going, how much money we have, and what are we going to do there, and things like that, while other people just walk past who are not going to Liberia or who are not African. But especially Liberia, I don't know why. So they always stopped us everywhere we went, asking us how much money we had on us. They do an extra security check with us. So it's not like a universal thing. So it's just us. And we see other people just going by and nobody's asking them anything. So it got a little bit frustrating. My business partner, Joel, for me, I'm a kind of quiet, cool person. Things happen and let it go. But he always voiced out his concerns. So he gave them a hard time all through the way. He really give them hard time. Really, he say things that just as it is, tell you right to your face. So We had a little bit of, back and forth with few authorities through the way. But when we got to Paris, we hopped on that flight after waiting for, I think, 5 hours in Paris. We flew to Liberia. Now, the flight to Liberia did stop in Bamako, so in Mali, in Mali. So in Bamako. So that flight to Bamako was pretty packed as well. The frustrating thing too, also, when you do stop in other African countries, you tend to stay on the plane. So this is something to expect when you're traveling to Liberia. If you stop in Ghana or Bamako or Conakry, Guinea, you will stay on the plane, and then so other people can board. And that process takes between 2 to 3 hours. So it do get frustrating. After flying for 7 hours, you stop. You're like, I'm next door to Liberia. I just want to get off the plane, but you have to stop in a different country and stay there stay on the plane for up to 3 hours. So that was really frustrating. I was like standing up, pacing, walking around. I just wanted to get off the freaking plane. I finally touched down in Liberia. So I can tell you for sure that feeling was very overwhelming.
It is a happy country. All is
Crazy, man. We out here. Just landed after 15 years. Epic.
For me especially, just kind of finally touching down, getting off that plane and stepping on the ground and getting that, air, Liberian heat air. So that experience was pretty fun for me. So yeah, that's the whole experience from prepping, flying, and what to expect as far as going to Liberia. A few things again, just to wrap up, to expect would be, make sure your bags are under that 50 pounds. If you can fly through another airport other than New York, do so. If you can fly with another airline other than Air France, do so. But they tend to be the cheapest, so just gonna know and prepare for that you're gonna be a little cramped on those long flights. Prepare that you're gonna stop maybe in one other African country and stay on that plane until 2 to 3 hours until they can unload the plane. And also when you get to Liberia, what to expect as far as the process you go through to get out. If you're not a Liberian and you arrive there, things to expect. So that was the whole journey, guys. That's the whole prepping and journey from Minnesota to New York to Paris to Bamako to Liberia. Very long flight, 5 stops. So when we got to the airport, we walked in to expect a huge line of COVID testing. Now people asking you questions that I have no idea about. They're asking you, hey, have you filled out the form online? We're like, what form? We have no idea what form they're talking about and things like that. There were no information given. So as you can see, just a ton of people walking around. Nobody knows what's going on, and people trying to figure it out as time goes now, and everything. And now that's exactly what I'm going to talk about in episode number 2. Talk about the experience at the airport, what to expect, how to get through the line faster, and also maybe how to even get it done before you get there, because there's the online form you can do before, so you can skip the line when you get there. What the amount is, how the whole process is at the airport, and my whole experience and thought. But yeah, guys, this is episode number 1. Tune in for episode number 2, where I'll talk about my airport experience, what to expect, how to avoid getting duped, or at least Liberian people say somebody eating your elbow, and all of that. So thank you guys for watching. Again, subscribe to the channel, share, comment, and thank you guys so much for coming through.